on? I am Rob Hammerschmidt, and this is Hammer Rugby. And for all those of you guys who are tuning in again, I want to thank you so very much for checking in with me each week. For those of you guys who are new, I appreciate you too. Keep coming back. I'm going to provide some new content each week in MLR action. So let's break down what's been going on in week 12 of Major League Rugby. So we had an extremely interesting weekend this week in week 12 of Major League Rugby action. Why was it so interesting? Well, we had our first postponement. The Austin boys were traveling up to Toronto, and they couldn't get their flights out due to some tremendous weather down there in the south of the United States. What's interesting about that is here we are, second weekend in April, and that's happened. Yet this season, we saw 3-4 snow bowls, and we saw some tremendous rainstorms out there in San Diego early season. Not a postponement to be had, but we are in week 12 and we get our first postponement. So let's hope Toronto and Austin get that match in. And I'm rooting for Austin. I'd like to see him get a win. Ben Mitchell and his boys are really working hard and haven't had much to show for it. So let's hope they get that win. The second big thing is what a lot of folks out there, followers of Major League Rugby, have been waiting for and anticipating. I mentioned it last week, gave my guesses, thoughts, what I thought would happen. And that is, with 3 additional teams, what are we going to see? We're going to see a conference play, we're going to see divisional play, and what's the playoff format going to look like? And of course, in gameplay in week 12, what I think is really interesting, and I mentioned it last week, gave a little morsel, is San Diego. I think they're the team to look out for as we head into the final leg of the season. They're resurgent. They were muddling through a little bit, but look out for San Diego. They look like they could give some of those top-tier teams holding tough at the top. Looks like they could give them some trouble as we head into the final weeks of the season. So I'm going to break all that down for you as we go into week 12. And now for a roundup of week 12. Utah traveled down to the Big Easy, losing a very tough match to NOLA 19-28. Seattle traveled to Houston in the opening of Houston's Aviva rugby-only stadium in what was a really good first half, with Seattle winning by a mere 13-5. Second half saw Seattle put some points on the board, I think running about the 58th minute, ultimately winning 52-10. And San Diego and Rooney squared off in New York, Coney Island. Once again, the visiting side winning 29-19, but again, a very tough match till the bitter end. So at the conclusion of week 12, here is the table. And this is one of the most interesting points that came out of the actual gameplay this weekend, and that is San Diego. San Diego was knocking on the door of the top 4, the playoff positions in week 11, down a couple points. New York was really pushing and putting pressure on NOLA, but they had a bye last weekend, and with the loss to San Diego, they really fell out of the top 4, which is a bit of surprise. So San Diego right now in third spot, really looking pretty good, knocking on Seattle's door and putting pressure on those top 4 teams. So it should be an interesting weekend this weekend of Major League Rugby. Continue to watch the action as we gain momentum towards the championship. All right, so let's get to the big news of the weekend. 2020 schedule, conference system, and playoff format. So we know with 3 teams coming in, we got New England Free Jacks, we got Old Glory DC, and ATL Rugby all coming in next year, and thus 12 teams. They're going to split 12 teams into 2 separate conferences, West Coast, East Coast. The East Coast is going to feature Toronto, New England, Rooney, OGDC, Atlanta, and NOLA, with the West Coast featuring Glendale, Utah, San Diego, Seattle, Houston, and Austin. The playoff format is going to be a system in which the top 3 seeded teams in each conference make it to the playoffs. The number 1 seeded team in each conference get a bye the first round, and seeds 2 and 3 play each other to meet in this to the conference champ in the semifinal. So that's what the picture looks like for next year. It looks like a tremendous format. Should cut down a bit on travel for some of the teams. They're going to be playing within their conference, home and away, and they'll play across the conference just once. They'll play 3 home, 3 away across the conference. So I think it was a really good compromise and a really good situation. A little bit more travel, and I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge for those northern teams to get some quality matches early season. But don't forget they bumped the schedule forward in the calendar, and the playoffs will last and the championship will go into July. So that's good news for those of us worried about weather conditions. Last week I tipped my cap as to what I thought was special about San Diego. I really thought they were the team to watch, the team to beat, a team to look out for, because they were nipping at the heels of those top 4 playoff seeded teams currently. Well, this week, they're right there, number 3. They leapfrogged over RUNY and they leapfrogged over Glendale. So what has changed? I don't know that anything's changed necessarily, except I think they've really crisped up in a few key areas. I'm going to break down each of those areas and intersplice some gameplay just so you can see what I'm talking about. The first key area is defense. Right now, San Diego has the best defense in the league. And one of the reasons why is line speed. They come up extremely fast and extremely physical. One of the things you notice about their line speed is they attack the opposition with abandon. And in particular, they attack the first pod. Remember that most of the teams are playing some variation offensively of a 1-3-3-1 offense. So that first pod is either playing inside or outside the flyout. For a lot of teams, when they want to run expansive ball, they'll play them outside the flyout, run a quick pod, and then go from there. But either way, San Diego actually sends 2 to 3 defenders in on that initial pod attacking the ball carrier. And in many cases, they actually drive the ball carrier back. At the very least, if they don't drive them back, the pressure forces an error, or more importantly, and more often than not, it slows down offensive ball for the opposition. Anybody that's played a bit of rugby knows that when you have tremendous line speed on defense, you're susceptible to the kick because you come up so fast, the ball is popped over top, put in a tactical spot, and the wingers or centers run onto the ball as an offense. What makes San Diego unique is 3 key players, and those players are Joe Peterson, Mike Te'eo, and Nate Augspurger. And I think those 3 players make it really hard to kick against San Diego. Joe Peterson has a tremendous tactical kicking ability too. He really knows where to put the ball, how to put the ball, and he can actually put the ball into a tactically dangerous position. Mike Te'eo is in really good position almost all the time, and he's a tremendous threat to return on attack. His little hop step that he gives, his little shimmy, often creates some line breaks for the squad. The good back rowers will come through and often play off him. So they make it difficult to kick against San Diego. And the final linchpin in this is, of course, Nate Augspurger. Nate has been a U.S. Eagle. He's a tremendous player, highly skilled, and his ability to box kick in tactical situations is actually a really good weapon for San Diego to put pressure on the opposition. I mentioned Nate Augspurger last in that piece because Nate is also critical to their offense. Not that the other players aren't critical. Joe Peterson is incredible. He's for an old guy, and let's face it, he's an old guy. He's, I think, 34 years old. Gives us all hope. Nate Augspurger is critical because his ability to get the ball quickly out of rucks and get the ball into an attacking situation. And so because of that, San Diego is dangerous on offense too. So what's on tap from Major League Rugby in Week 13? On Saturday, Glendale travels to San Diego, and Utah will travel to Rooney. Should be some interesting matches on Saturday. And on Sunday, Houston travels north of the border to Toronto, and NOLA goes to what is an entirely exquisite experience in Fandemonium of rugby, Starfire Stadium, and Seattle. Very tough place to play for NOLA. And from what I understand, a little shout out to my NOLA guys down there, Benjamin Haswell, my guy Benji, and my guy Adrian Thompson. Both of them run some fabulous Facebook pages for NOLA fans. NOLA fans down there in the Big Easy on Sunday, Finn McCool's Pub will be having a watch party. So go check that out. It should be exciting and fun to watch. It should be an awesome match. Seattle will be looking to get revenge on NOLA. So watch this weekend and come back next week where I will do a post-week 13 summary of action. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter.